Center, Nerissa Bostwick. First off, on the local scene. His Excellency Jose Borja Lopez, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Ecuador to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, on Monday, March 24th, presented his letter of credence to Governor General Her Excellency Dame Susan Duggan. During his official visit to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Ecuadorian ambassador participated in several courtesy calls with Vincentian dignitaries, including Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Ralph Gonsalves and the Foreign Minister Honorable Frederick Stevenson, accompanied by Mistress Sandy Peters Phillips, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Trade and Consumer Affairs. The Republic of Ecuador and the St. Vincent and the Grenadines established relations on August 1st, 1989, and the St. Vincent and the Grenadines continues to value its partnership with Ecuador. Deputy Hospital Administrator at the Modern Medical and Diagnostic Center, Idinger Miller Walker, said Cuban medical experts provide an invaluable service to Vincentians, and it would be a shock to the healthcare system if the medical mission is aborted. In an interview with the Agency for Public Information API, Miller Walker said that over 80% of the services at the Modern Medical and Diagnostic Center, ranging from oncology to nephrology, which includes dialysis, as well as radiography, are led by Cuban personnel.
It would be a setback for us because what do we do with the 64 patients who receive dialysis right now? There was a time we were actually at 74. So think of it that these persons who provides assistance, who boosts our existing cadre of staff here, what it would be like if we don't have the Cubans among us. They're in the lab, they're in the pharmacy. You heard Mesa earlier, who works with the preparation of the chemotherapy treatment. Years ago, we started or tried chemotherapy, and we had to put a pause on it because the conditions, the environment weren't favorable. We didn't have the appropriate skills. We didn't have the appropriate equipment, PPEs. We didn't have a biosafety cabinet that we do have now here. We didn't have the gears. So what would it be like if we were to remove the Cubans?
That was Idinger Miller Walker, Deputy Hospital Administrator at the Modern Medical and Diagnostic Center. Approximately 32 Cuban specialists are assigned to the Modern Medical and Diagnostic Center, working alongside local doctors and nurses. The Ministry of Tourism, Civil Aviation, Sustainable Development and Culture continues its efforts to promote tourism awareness among young minds with an interactive school outreach initiative. On Thursday, March 20th, tourism educators Paula Batiste and Carol Paris visited primary schools in Kittels and the Clear Valley, engaging students in dynamic sessions on the significance of tourism in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Through engaging presentations and discussions, the educators highlighted the role of tourism in the nation's economy, employment opportunities within the industry, and the importance of sustainable tourism practices. The sessions also introduced students to the diverse attractions of SVG, fostering an appreciation for the country's rich cultural heritage, natural beauty, and warm hospitality. Speaking on the initiative, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism, Civil Aviation, Sustainable Development and Culture, Dr. Tamira Brown, emphasized the importance of early exposure to tourism education, noting that by educating our students, we are shaping future ambassadors of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. This initiative is part of ongoing efforts to strengthen the link between tourism and local communities, ensuring that future generations are well informed and inspired to contribute to the industry. Thus far, over 14 schools have been visited and 348 students have been reached. The first generation scholarships for Monroe University has increased from 54 to 75 for 2025. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves made the announcement today and urged prospective students to take note as applications open in May-June. According to a release from the Agency for Public Information API, Prime Minister Gonsalves also urged prospective candidates to start the process early. The program, which has been implemented across the Caribbean region, will provide first-generation scholarships to Vincentian students here and in the diaspora. The scholarships cover full tuition coverage, allowing students to pursue higher education without financial barriers. St. Vincent and the Grenadines currently has 247 students at Monroe University. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister also announced that tuition scholarships will also become available in May. He said as part of government's thrust to modernize the public service, the application process for tuition scholarships are now to be done online, as the portal is now complete and fully operational. In original news, United States President Donald Trump has revoked the humanitarian parole program known as the CHNV program for people from Haiti, Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. This decision will categorically end the protection and legal status of 530,000 people who arrived in the United States under parole status, said Murad Awadi, President and Chief Executive Officer of the New York Immigration Coalition, NYIC. He said the CHNV program allowed qualified nationals from these countries to live and work in the U.S. through sponsorship by a U.S. citizen or permanent resident for 2 years. Awade said the program will end on April 24, 2025, when those in the program will lose status and work authorization. He said impacted community members are advised to seek qualified legal counsel to explore alternative paths for lawful status such as asylum, temporary protected status, or lawful permanent residence or risk deportation. United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio has arrived in Jamaica for his first state visit to the country since taking office in January of this year. Rubio's arrival at the Norman Manley International Airport was slightly delayed, with the diplomat arriving via a private United States marked airplane just after 11 a.m. for the first leg of his tri-country trip to the region. Rubio was greeted by Jamaica's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Kamina Johnson-Smith, and the Chief Technical Director in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Ambassador Sharon Miller, among other dignitaries and technocrats. Talks today will focus on illegal immigration, combating transnational organized crime, and enhancing economic partnerships with Caribbean nations. Rubio is scheduled to meet with Prime Minister Andrew Holness, heads of state from Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, and Haiti, and other local government officials before he moves on to visit Guyana and Suriname. And finally, on the news at this hour, the U.S. Supreme Court today upheld a Biden administration regulation on the nearly impossible to trace weapons called ghost guns, clearing the way for continued serial numbers, background checks, and age verification requirements to buy them in kits online. According to CNN News, Justice Neil Gorsuch wrote the opinion for a 7-2 majority that included both liberal and conservative justices in one of the most closely watched Supreme Court cases of the year. Individuals who had purchased the weapons and several manufacturers challenged regulations created by the Biden administration in 2022 that require ghost gun makers to include serial numbers on the kits and perform background checks on people who purchase them. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives created new regulations as police say the untraceable weapons are turning up much more frequently at crime scenes. In 2017, police submitted about 1,600 ghost guns recovered at crime scenes for tracing. 4 years later, the number had grown to more than 19,000. This has been WeFM's 3 p.m. News. I have been your presenter, Naressa Bostwick. Our next newscast will be coming to you at 5:30 p.m. Be sure to join us then.